Hey guys, so today I'm going to be ranking all of the Pokemon introduced in Generation 2 from 1 to 5. So these are all the Pokemon that first appeared in Pokemon Gold and Silver. I'm super excited, let's get right to it. So first, we have Chikorita. I'm going to be honest, I don't like Chikorita at all. I think they tried to make Chikorita really cute, but I think they crossed into the territory of kind of uncanny, to be honest. Like, it doesn't look as cute as I think they wanted it to be. It has, like, a necklace of, like, buds around its neck, and it's really weird because it kind of looks like a choker. Just that thought gives me the ick, honestly. So, I'm not a fan of Chikorita. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. It probably would have been a 1 out of 5 if it wasn't a starter Pokemon. Bayleef. Now, this is great because Bayleef is a huge improvement on Chikorita. I think they went in the right direction. It gets a change in its color scheme that I think really, really works. The yellow and the darker green, I think that's a great change. Also, the design is very sleek, very friendly looking, and I think it's a great improvement on Chikorita. So I'm going to give Bayleef a 4 out of 5. I'm a big fan. The final form of Chikorita, we have Meganium. I think Meganium's pretty good, but I think it needed a little bit more. I like what they've done. I like the idea, but I feel like they didn't go far enough. Like, it doesn't feel like this should be the final stage of a starter Pokemon. I think they needed to add some more elements to make it more interesting and stand out a little bit more. It's a little plain to me. The Mega Evolution is great. I love how Mega Meganium looks. I think Mega Meganium should have been what Meganium looked originally. I think that would have actually been perfect. As it stands, I think Meganium is a 3 out of 5. It had potential. I'm a fan of Cyndaquil. I think it's a great design. I think the colors contrast well. I also really like how when it is just chilling and not like fighting or using its fire powers, the fire just kind of goes away. I think it's cool that they thought about that. I think Cyndaquil's super cute, and I'm gonna give him a 4 out of 5. I think Quilava runs into a very common problem that middle stage evolutions of starters often have. The artists are constrained by what they can really do with this design, you know, because they have Typhlosion, they have Cyndaquil, and now they're just trying to create a transition Pokemon, right, between the two. Those designs are always a little awkward, and there's not as much freedom for the artists, I think. I don't dislike Quilava. I think it's just kind of like a teenage version of Cyndaquil. I'll give Quilava a 3 out of 5. He's alright. I really like Typhlosion. I'm gonna be honest, sentimental value. When I first played Pokemon Silver way back in the day, Cyndaquil was my starter, and then obviously I spent most of the game playing with Typhlosion. He has like this angry, like ferocious expression on his face, but like when you see him without his fire out, he's just like a cute guy, you know? Put that fire away, Typhlosion. Come on. Recently, I think Typhlosion's reputation has kind of taken a bit of a hit. You know, the allegations have come out against this guy, and it's looking tough. He's really going through it. Because of the allegations and because of the recent things that came out about him, I'm gonna give him a 3 out of 5. It used to be higher. Totodile is excellent. This is peak starter design. Just from one glance at the design, you know what this Pokemon's about. A goofy, fun-loving, energetic guy. So I think the design is fantastic. No complaints, 5 out of 5. Croconaw's rough, man. You know how with Quilava, I talked about how these intermediate stage Pokemon often have issues because, there's not enough to work with. And man, Croconaw is an example of where they really messed up. This is the worst of it. This is like a cautionary tale. I hate him, especially because he is the follow-up to Totodile, and Totodile is just a perfect design, and Croconaw is just yuck. 1 out of 5. Feraligatr. His sprite in either Ruby, Sapphire, or in Diamond and Pearl. Not sure which games, but his sprite in those games did him lifelong damage, unfortunately. I liked him better before I saw... If you know, you know. I don't want to be too harsh on Feraligatr, because I like Feraligatr, but trying to be as objective as possible, I'm going to give him 3 out of 5. I think that's fair. There are a lot of things about Sentret's design that I like quite a bit. The little circle shape on its belly, how it stands on its tail. I think it's a really cute, creative, and fun design. I think it serves its purpose as like the regional rodent, like perfectly. So I'm gonna give Sentret a 4 out of 5. I like Furret, but not as much as Sentret, to be honest. Coming from Sentret's design, I think they could have done more. Because I think Sentret had some interesting things going on in its design, and I think they could have found a way to make its evolution a little more interesting. It's not offensive in any way. I'm gonna give Furret a 3 out of 5. Wow, these early Gen 2 designs are really good, man. Like, there are many design choices that are just so eye-catching and interesting. And an example of this is Hoothoot. It's a design where if you look at it closely, you keep noticing things and you keep wanting to look at it more. Like the single foot, and the eyes, and the patterns around its eyes, and the whole thing going on with its eyebrows. It sparks curiosity, I think, when you look at it. So, I like Hoothoot a lot. I'm gonna give Hoothoot a 5 out of 5. I think it's a great design. I don't think it's as good as Hoothoot, but I still think it's really good. They kind of continue to, focus on those eyebrows. I actually think Noctowl is really good. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Ledyba looks too generic for me. I don't know why. I feel like this design could come from any franchise that has, creatures and monsters. There's nothing about Ledyba that screams Pokemon. Many of the other generations have a better early bug Pokemon design. I'm gonna give Ledyba a 2 out of 5. Ledian's really strange. If someone showed me Ledyba and Ledian, side by side, and they told me that these two Pokemon are not related and, they're just two random Pokemon from two different generations, I would believe you. I don't know how Ledyba becomes this thing. It has, boxing gloves for arms. It's really weird. I don't like it at all. 1 out of 5. Spinarak. This is a good design. This is how you do the early bug-type Pokemon. I love its lime green color and the little, sad face that it has on its back. Even its legs have, an interesting black and yellow pattern. Super vibrant. The design also has a ton of personality. Spinarak's a 4 out of 5. I am so glad Spinarak becomes Ariados. I think it's a perfect follow-up to Spinarak. 5 out of 5 for Ariados. I think Crobat is really interesting and a really unexpected evolution for Golbat. You look at Golbat and you would never imagine that it would evolve into something that looks like Crobat. He looks like a powerful Pokemon, So I'm gonna give Crobat a 4 out of 5. After looking at Chinchou for a little bit, I actually like its design. I think it's quite good. And comparing it to some of the early water-type Pokemon from Gen 1, I think this design is just fantastic. I'm gonna give Chinchou a 4 out of 5. No, Lanturn's not good, man. Lanturn is not good. I don't like it at all. Chinchou had so much potential, and Lanturn just has a really strange shape for some reason. It's like, has like a beer belly. I don't know what they were doing with that. Its lanterns are less prominent than they were when it was a Chinchou. So I don't know why that is. It's literally called Lanturn, and the lanterns are like smaller now. I'm just not a fan of Lanturn. Why does it have a beer belly? 1 out of 5. Terrible. In general, I'm gonna say it up front, I'm not a fan of any of these like baby Pokemon. I was never really a fan of having just baby versions of old classics. However, I think Pichu is super cute. Like, they maxed out its cuteness. I'm gonna give Pichu a 4 out of 5. I don't like it. I didn't like Clefairy and Clefable anyway from Gen 1. So having a baby version of Pokemon that I already didn't like doesn't help. I'm gonna give Cleffa a 1 out of 5. It would be better if it didn't exist. Next, we have Igglybuff. Somehow, this is way worse than even Cleffa. I think this might be the worst baby Pokemon, if I'm remembering correctly. Well, worst baby Pokemon so far. I hate this thing. 1 out of 5. Technically, Togepi is also a baby Pokemon, but it's a brand new evolutionary line. This isn't like a baby version of a Pokemon that existed before. So I guess that helps it a little bit. I still don't think it's that good. It's just like a cute little egg, pretty much. I like the patterns on its shell. Add a bit of vibrancy to the design overall, so that helps it a little bit. I think I'm gonna give Togepi like a 2 out of 5. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of Togetic, to be honest. It's kind of strange that its entire like body is just like an egg. I know that's the whole concept, but it just looks really strange with how its neck kind of just pops out of that. It's just a strange shape. There's not really too much interesting about this Pokemon. Whenever I look at these designs, I always think about what it would be like to use this in the game, or like if they existed in real life, right? And I don't think many people would want to use a Pokemon that looks like this. 1 out of 5. Natu looks fake. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. He looks like an artificial Pokemon, like made of plastic or wood or something. And I think that was intentional, for sure. I think the pattern on its wing is really interesting. I really like how the colors play into it. I'm gonna give Natu a 4 out of 5. I really like its design. Yeah, I like Xatu. I think it's a great evolution of Natu. I think they did Natu justice. It has like these eyes on like its chest, which is kind of strange but really creepy. Are those its real eyes? I feel like I'm just realizing this for the first time. Are those things on its chest its real eyes? If so, that's pretty darn creepy and really changes how I see this Pokemon. Really cultured Pokemon. I like it a lot. I think I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. Very creative design. We haven't really seen a design quite like this one. I think it's quite unique. Mareep is really cute. It's clearly a sheep, right? but it's not just like a boring sheep. It's very much a sheep, a 4 out of 5. I like what they went for here. I really like that Flaaffy is like a sheared version of Mareep. Usually what they do with these middle stage Pokemon is just they're kind of like an awkward transition design usually, but with Flaaffy there was actually like a vision here. It's like Mareep is before its wool is sheared and Flaaffy is after its wool is sheared. I think that's really creative. I'm gonna give Flaaffy a 4 out of 5. They took this Pokemon in a very different direction, but that was a good decision because I like Ampharos. When you look back at Mareep, you can kind of see the hints towards some kind of Egyptian influence. Looking at these Pokemon closely for this video, I'm starting to appreciate some of them way more than I ever did before. I hadn't caught on to the Egyptian elements in Mareep at all. So that's really cool. I think I'm gonna give Ampharos a 5 out of 5. A good payoff to Mareep. I like Blossom. Do I like it as much as Vileplume? Not really. I don't think it's as good as Vileplume because it doesn't look like a follow-up of Oddish or Gloom in any way, but I think that was the point, right? Because it's a branching evolution, so the point of this was to look different from the rest of the line. The more I look at it, the less I like it. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Oh, is Marill the first ever attempt at a Pikachu clone? It is. They absolutely succeeded. I think Marill is a super cute design. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Yeah, I don't like Azumarill because I think the whole point of the Marill line is that it should be just super cute. And with any kind of cutesy design, when you iterate on it and add more things and make it bigger, it just loses its cuteness. I don't like Azumarill. I think they should have just kept Marill as a single stage Pokemon without evolving it. Azumarill's a 2 out of 5. I think the concept behind Sudowoodo is really funny, and I like the whole role that it has in the games. I think it's cute. I'm not too sure about Sudowoodo. If I didn't know anything about Sudowoodo, and if I'd never seen it in my life, I don't think I would like it at all. It's a bit strange. It's kind of shaped like a sausage. But the fact that Sudowoodo has been around for so long and, it's had its funny moments, and it is kind of an iconic Pokemon too. My familiarity with Sudowoodo saves it here. So I'm going to give Sudowoodo a 3 out of 5. Politoed. Yet another branching evolution. Even though it's very different from the rest of the Pokemon in its evolutionary line, I think it stands out in a good way. It looks a little derpy, but derpy in a good way. Derpy in kind of an endearing way. I really like Politoed. I think he's cute. I think he's a little derpy, and I think the design just works. 5 out of 5. If Pokemon was real, seeing Hoppip out in nature would be really cool. I'm trying to imagine that. It's good. I actually think I'm gonna give Hoppip a 3 out of 5. Skiploom creeps me out. Those red eyes and that really creepy expression. Skiploom scares me, genuinely. That is nightmare fuel. I never noticed how creepy this thing is. I kind of like it. I kind of like how ominous this thing is. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. It's the final form of Hoppip, and I like it a lot. I think it's a really weird looking design, but weird in a good way. It's pretty eye-catching. It's pretty interesting to look at. I'm gonna give Jumpluff a 4 out of 5. He's mostly pretty basic looking except for his tail, which is like his defining feature. But, I mean, he's a normal type Pokemon, right? They knew what they were going for with this design, and they achieved it. Nothing in this design seems out of place at all, and it does the job. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Yeah, not really a fan of Sunkern, to be honest. They were kind of trying to do like an alt version of Bellsprout, I think. I think that's might have been the thinking going on when designing Sunkern. But I don't really like it too much. I guess bonus points that its eyes look like seeds, and I guess that's cool. But yeah, I don't like it a whole lot. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. Sunflora is really goofy. They definitely made him super goofy on purpose, and I like that actually. I'm kind of a fan. I kind of like how derpy it is, and it really works for me. 5 out of 5 for Sunflora. Wow, okay. I really like Yanma. I think the colors are very vibrant. I think they really stand out. I really like how they combined like a small plane and a dragonfly, and they combined it successfully. Because, you know, it's very easy to mess up a design when you're kind of fusing an animal and an object, right? Like, I think we see examples of this in many later generations where you could see what they were trying. They were trying to combine an animal with an object, but it doesn't always work. But I think here it really works. The design of a dragonfly and the design of a plane, they blended those two seamlessly. I'm going to give Yanma a 5 out of 5. I think it's a really interesting design. Wooper. You know what I've realized with the Pokemon in this generation, especially like the basic stage Pokemon, is that they're really simple, but they're simple in the best way possible. They found the perfect balance between simple but also interesting to look at. And Wooper is another example of that. I really like Wooper's design. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Quagsire. I think it's a good evolution for Wooper. You know, you might be scared that, oh, if they make Wooper bigger, it's gonna lose all its cuteness. Yes, it does lose its cuteness, but it doesn't lose its endearing qualities that it had as a Wooper. They just find a new way to express its endearing qualities. And that's in the form of making it like derpy. Like Sunflora, it is derpy in the most perfect way. I really like Quagsire, 5 out of 5. Espeon's a great design. One look at this, and I can immediately tell that it's a psychic type Pokemon, right? Like, that's what's so good about this design, is that as soon as you lay eyes on it, like, boom. Like, you can tell that it's a psychic Pokemon. Really good. I like Espeon's design a lot. It's a really elegant design. Not too complex, but it does what it was going for perfectly. I really like it. 5 out of 5 for Espeon. Umbreon. Fantastic design. They really upped their game with the evolutions this generation. Wow. Umbreon is a huge hit for me. Again, just one look at the design and you know what Umbreon's all about, you know? I don't know how they did it, but with both Espeon and Umbreon, they're both pretty simple designs on the surface, but done so well. 5 out of 5 for Umbreon. Murkrow is great. A really good crow design, and I think, again, like many Pokemon in this generation, it does a great job of being simple but standing out. Really interesting theme in this generation that I didn't expect. Murkrow is gonna get a 4 out of 5. Wow, another hit. Another hit. And I already liked the Slowpoke line. Like, I love Slowpoke and Slowbro, and I think Slowking is great. Really good. I think it's so interesting that instead of the tail, now the shelter is on the head. It makes Slowpoke go from kind of a dummy to like a really smart guy. I think it's just a great design, a great addition to the Slowpoke line. 5 out of 5 again. Next is Misdreavus. I love its colors. The colors are really nice. I think I'm a little biased here because I love the tone of blue that they've used here. Its eyes are kind of scary looking, and that's perfect. It's a ghost Pokemon, so really good there. Everything about this design is really good. The necklace, I'm a big fan once again. 5 out of 5. Unknowns, a very interesting concept, and it's really interesting for the lore of the entire Pokemon universe, to be honest. The fact that they thought about the grander lore this early on, I think is really cool, and that makes me like all of the unknowns. Usually Pokemon doesn't try too hard to have like a grand lore, but the lore that it does have, I think, is quite interesting, and I think Unknown was kind of the first attempt at kind of world building in Pokemon. So, yeah, I like the concept of Unknown, so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. Wobbuffet. This one is pretty hard to judge because of how iconic Wobbuffet is in the anime. It's really hard to separate just the design from its character in the Pokemon anime. But trying to put that aside, I still think it's an interesting concept either way. The real Pokemon is actually just the tail, right? And the whole blue part is not real, right? I believe that's what the concept is. I think it's a really creative design. With my bias added into it, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. Big fan. Now with Girafarig, I don't really like the design. You start asking questions when you look at it a little more. So I think the concept's interesting, but just as a design, I don't like it very much, unfortunately. Middle of the road, 3 out of 5. I mean, he's literally just a pine cone with eyes? I don't like it. I really don't like Pineco, because, I mean, there's just not enough happening. Yeah, it's not good. 1 out of 5. I mean, it's better than Pineco. At least it became something interesting. But I don't like it a ton, if I'm gonna be honest. Not 2 out of 5. Dunsparce is really weird. Not weird in like an off-putting way. It's just strange. Before it got an evolution in Scarlet and Violet, I think I liked it more because of the possibilities, you know? Because you look at it and it's like, this thing is not in its final form. Like, that's the vibe you get when you look at it. So not knowing what it could potentially become in the future was quite exciting back in the day. But now that we know its evolution, it actually brings down Dunsparce in my mind. 2 out of 5. Gligar, just off the official art, it shows a lot of its personality and kind of what the energy of this Pokemon is all about, right? I'm not sure that the pink and the blue go that well together, but I do still like this Pokemon. I'm kind of conflicted here. A 3 out of 5. When you look at it, you're like, I want this guy on my team, you know? He looks strong, he looks powerful, and I think it's a great iteration on Onix. I think I wasn't the biggest fan in the world of Onix. I didn't dislike it, but I don't think I was its biggest fan. But Steelix is a great evolution, and I think it's fantastic. 5 out of 5. Snubble. It's like a rich person's pet. I don't really like Snubble. 2 out of 5. I don't have much to say. Yeah, I'm not feeling this one. I'm really not feeling this one. It just looks too goofy. I don't think it was going for goofy. See, the sum of the Pokemon, you look at them and they're goofy, but you know they were meant to be goofy. But Granbull, just, I think it's a miss. I think it's not good. 1 out of 5. I mean, it's cool that we got, like, a pufferfish. But if I'm being honest, I don't really like Qwilfish's design. Mouth is kind of weird. Its eyes are a bit strange. I know we get an evolution in the later games, but if Qwilfish was revealed as just a one-stage Pokemon, yeah, it's a thumbs down for me. 2 out of 5. Scizor is really, really cool. I saw something online of how Scizor is actually just Scyther wearing red armor. I know that's just a meme, but it was pretty funny. Anyway, if you take one look at Scizor, know that it evolves from Scyther, and you're like, heck yeah, I want this on my team, you know? It looks intimidating, and you know it's gonna be a strong member of your team. I think it's a great design. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I actually like Shuckle. Most of its body is just the shell, and I think the shell is interesting to look at. If I found a rock on the beach that looked like Shuckle's shell, I would take that home and keep it forever. So I'm a fan of Shuckle, 4 out of 5. It's hard to say what I like about him, but when I look at him, I just feel like I really approve of this guy. I think I just like beetles, to be honest. I'm just a fan. 4 out of 5. Sneasel's an interesting one. I look at it and I want to know more. So I'm going to give Sneasel a 4 out of 5. Teddiursa, the moon theme is pretty cool. And it's also very cute. It does the job. It's a good design. 3 out of 5. What makes Ursaring good and Granbull bad is that Ursaring feels intimidating. Yes, maybe a little goofy, but it does feel intimidating. And it still has that whole moon theme going on. Teddiursa had like the crescent moon on its forehead, and now Ursaring kind of has like a full moon outline on its torso. Ursaring is a pretty cool design, and I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Slugma is just lava. And that's it. There's no elements of anything else. With some of the other first stage Pokemon, you know, you can see elements that could be becoming something interesting, but this is just lava with eyes. 1 out of 5. Okay, Magcargo is more interesting than Slugma. So much better. It's still not great, but it's a huge improvement from Slugma. They really saved it, so I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Swinub might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I really like Swinub. He reminds me of my pet hamster from back in the day. I don't know, he's cute. I like Swinub. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Yeah, I actually like Piloswine, you know? Yes, it's not as cute as Swinub, but it's still really endearing. I would love to have this guy, like, as a pet, or if it's not a domesticated Pokemon, then maybe, you know, just... I'd like to hang out with Piloswine. I think it has endearing qualities. I like that its eyes are, like, covered, you know, with its hair. Yeah, I think that's really cool. I'm gonna give Piloswine a 5 out of 5. I don't know why I like it so much. I think Corsola's Galarian form took a more interesting turn, but just normal Corsola without considering anything else. It's just coral, and that's it. It's okay. It's not offensive in any way. It doesn't give me bad vibes, so I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. I think it's okay. I get when you make a lot of fish designs, it becomes difficult to keep them interesting. You know, I understand that. But Remoraid is just so unremarkable. It really looks just too basic for my liking. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5. Now see, that's an interesting evolution. Like, I just said that Remoraid wasn't interesting on its own, but I guess the fact that it's part of this evolutionary line is kind of interesting. That being said, I don't like Octillery just from a design perspective. 2 out of 5. Delibird's cool. I like the concept. I mean, he's nothing remarkable, but I'm glad he exists, so I'll give him a 3 out of 5. I just wish there was more. I wish they added something to this. I feel like Mantine's a good starting point, but I wish they added some more features onto it, right? I hope Mantine gets an evolution someday. I think it really deserves one. Like, they could make it even cooler. That being said, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. By the way, I see Remoraid again here. I just said that Remoraid wasn't an interesting Pokemon, and then there are just 2 interesting things about it popped up. I just think that's funny, man. Video already aging badly. Next, we have Skarmory. Sometimes I just love when a design is just like, we're making everything pointy. This is gonna be the sharpest design ever. I just love when they do that. I'm a big fan of Skarmory. It has no pre-evolutions, it has no evolutions. It got a Mega, but it's just a 1-stage Pokemon, and it's pretty damn cool. 4 out of 5. Yeah, he's cool. He's edgy, but it works. He's the right amount of edgy. 3 out of 5. I didn't realize he looks almost exactly like an actual Doberman. It has just enough interesting things going on that I like it. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I like Kingdra, but again, I think this is another case where I wish it had more. I wish it had more going on, just because it is the 3rd stage of an evolutionary line. So I wish there was something more going on here. I hope it gets a Mega evolution one day. I think Kingdra would be a perfect candidate for a Mega. I think I'm gonna give Kingdra a 3 out of 5. I like the colors that they've used here in this design. It's pretty simple, but it has enough going on to make me think it's a good design. So I think I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. It's good in its simplicity. I like everything that's going on with Donphan, honestly. It's a good design. I spent a little time looking at it. I like Donphan a lot, actually. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Porygon's design, but I do like the whole concept across this evolutionary line. This is a hard one. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Stantler's alright. I just don't like his face. 2 out of 5. His gimmick is cool, but all he has is his gimmick. I mean, the design is just alright. Yeah, but you know what? I think its gimmick does actually raise its score. I think it is a vital piece of this Pokemon. I'm just gonna go right through the middle. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. I don't like Tyrogue. I think Tyrogue's design runs into a similar problem that Machopp's design had, and I think that it's just something uncanny about it. It's just a little too human looking. No, I'm not against like humanoid Pokemon or something, but this one looks a little too much like a human. So I'm gonna give Tyrogue a 1 out of 5. At least Hitmontop doesn't look like a straight up like person, right? Hitmontop, he's like spinning and he has 3 legs. Like, he's different enough from just a guy to not give me the creeps. I like his whole spinning thing that he's got going on. I don't like him when he's not spinning, though. When he's just like standing on his 2 feet, I don't like him when he does that. I like him only when he's spinning. 1 out of 5 if he's not spinning. 4 out of 5 if he's spinning. Oh god, I changed my mind. I said Igglybuff was the worst baby Pokemon. I lied. Smoochum is horrible. I hate Smoochum. Like, if I could erase a Pokemon from existence, I think Smoochum would be really high on the list to get erased. Horrible 1 out of 5. I like that his head is like an outlet point. Yeah, hey, he's pretty cool. 3 out of 5. Yeah, Magby, he's okay. I mean, he's not that good. I don't like baby Pokemon. I've already said it. 2 out of 5. Yeah, I'm not really feeling Miltank. It's not my cup of tea, honestly. 2 out of 5. I don't love it, but I don't really hate it either. There's not too much going on. It still does the whole egg thing that Chansey was doing, obviously. I don't have too much to say about Blissey. 3 out of 5. Okay, we're at the legendaries. Really, really cool design. Wow. I think this might be the best legendary design so far. I think this design is great. It's worthy of a legendary, and I think it looks better than any of the legendary birds in Kanto. There's a lot going on, but it doesn't feel too crowded, and it feels like it's the right amount of complexity for a legendary Pokemon. So yeah, Raikou is great. 5 out of 5. I have good memories of Entei because of the movie, the Pokemon movie that was about Entei. So that movie alone really helps Entei out a lot. I think without that movie and without my memories of the anime in general, I think Entei would be way lower. But because of the anime, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I know Suicune is everyone's favorite of the 3, but it's not as good as Raikou. It's still good, though, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. See, I think Larvitar fits its role perfectly. Like a first stage Pokemon where it has some interesting things going on and you want to know where these design elements are going to go, but it's not too complex and it's teasing good things in the future. And I think it captures that vibe perfectly. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Pupitar gives me like Metapod and Kakuna vibes. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a transitional stage Pokemon. And it's meant to be like a cocoon, right? A cocoon's literally, in nature, is an intermediate step. So there's not much to say about Pupitar. 2 out of 5. Tyranitar is awesome. I love this design. One look at Tyranitar and you know that this guy means business. You know that if you're not careful around this guy, he will tear you to pieces. It's a design worthy of the pseudo-legendary of this generation. It's like a dinosaur with armor on it. Sick. 5 out of 5. I really like Lugia. Lugia was my favorite Pokemon for years as a kid. I wouldn't shut up about Lugia for some reason. That's what my parents still remember that. They're like, yo, what's that Pokemon that you used to like? I think in the recent years, it's kind of faded. I don't like Lugia as much as I used to like Lugia, but I still like it a lot. The thing is, I didn't like its 3D model that they had for it when Pokemon transitioned to 3D. The 3D model really just didn't do the design justice, honestly. And I think just that fact kind of damaged Lugia's standing in my mind. All of that being said, I still have to give Lugia a 5 out of 5. For sentimental reasons, I think Ho-Oh is great. Really good. For lore reasons, it's just one of the best Pokemon. It has one of the most fleshed out lores in all of Pokemon. Based off design too, I think its design is great. It has to get a 5 out of 5. I'm not really a big fan of Celebi's design. It's not bad, but I don't really like it that much. I like that it can time travel. That's really cool. But just the design, I don't really like the design at all. So, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. Well, that's it, guys. Generation 1 had an average score of that, and Generation 2 had an average score of that out of 5. Bye!